Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Natalie. I am the artist and owner of NMC Design Studio, which is a small art business run out of Seattle, Washington. Today we have a long one. We are going to look at what took place at GeekFest West 2025. It was a 3-day convention in Everett, Washington, and I was one of the vendors there. So if you'll just stick with me through this, I'm going to guess that it's gonna be a pretty long video. We're gonna get to all of the fun details towards the end, including I spent $1 to get court documents and went and dug around on people's Facebooks. Hopefully that'll be interesting enough. I can't promise much from either of these things because I don't think the details we got from them were super juicy, but it is fun little things. I spent $1, so haven't purchased court documents before. But we're gonna start back at the beginning and we're gonna look through some of the day 0 setup footage and then go through day 1, day 2, and day 3. And I will see y'all on the other side of that. Today we are going to be setting up and eventing at GeekFest West, which is a 3-day event held at the Angel of the Winds Arena in Everett, Washington. I believe this is their 2nd year hosting this event, and it's my 1st year vending there, so we shall see how it goes. I don't really know what to expect in terms of traffic and busyness. Some things for this event. We are about to head out to go set up. It is Thursday right now, so day 0. Tomorrow, I actually have my fiance Reese. He's going to be tabling for me because this is actually my 2nd week of working full-time again, and I didn't want to ask for a day off in my 2nd week of working full-time again. So Reese is lovely and he said that he would take the day off and go and vend for me. We are also in a stamp rally with a couple of other artists. We're doing a Cozy Games stamp rally, and I'll show you my prize contribution later, hopefully if I remember. It is a little notepad that is based off of a short hike, which is a really, really cute game. Highly recommend. I think today it's like 80 degrees is the high, maybe 81. So it might be hot while we go there and I might get sweaty and gross. I'm already feeling like warm sitting right here. We are taking the bus today, which is going to be about 1 hour and 40 minutes. It could have been 1 hour and 20 minutes, but that requires 2 transfers. So we get on a bus, we get off the bus, we get on the light rail, we get off the light rail, we get on another bus, and then we walk there. But because I have my suitcase, which is what y'all are sitting on as my tripod right now, I don't like transferring. I'd rather just do it like once. We are going to get on one bus and then we're gonna get on another bus. And that's it. And then the walk there is like 8 minutes after we get off that 2nd bus. So it does take longer, but there are less transfers in between, it means we can hang out. So we're all set up and we are in front of these doors, but I feel like they're not going to actually open those up because this is technically a paid event and you need a badge. So the actual walk to the booth, I'll take you on the reverse since we are all done for today. We go down these stairs, and there's the elevator that I ended up taking up with my suitcase. Nope, you're good. And we go through the indies area. We could go that way, but I don't actually know if that'll be open. So this is like where most of the vendors are at. And the actual aisles are like super narrow. So I don't know how that's gonna do with crowds. Like this aisle is fine, which is good because that's how you get to my booth. Ooh, I don't really know if I realized that there was tea. What kind of teas do we have? Cozy cottage. Cute. These look so cute. I can't come down here. I'm gonna spend too much money. And then, ooh, I don't know if these tables are staying here, but you come around this corner. We're gonna backtrack a tiny amount. Going over here. You can see the entrance banner.
Sure, yep, I got it.
So that's where check-in should be, where you would go and pick up your badge. And then out here, there are also going to be vendors. So you can see some of the tents set up already. But you come through the conference center entrance, which is on the north side of the building. I will see y'all, not tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be Reese. I highly doubt he's going to vlog anything. So I will see you for day 2.
That's not good.
No, something's happening. Hello friends, welcome to, I guess this is technically day 1, Friday. So like I mentioned yesterday, I'm not going to actually be going to the event today. My fiance is going to be running my table for me, and packed him a little bag of things that I forgot to bring yesterday or like need to go. We have a panel because I was 1 short yesterday. Because fun fact, I don't actually generally plan out my booths in advance. I kind of just wing it on the day. I have like kind of a vague, like how I like certain areas set up. Like the stickers are always above each other, and I've started doing it so the keychains are above the washi tape. But everything else I kind of just wing, and it generally works out okay-ish. But I was one panel short yesterday. We also have more bags because I was running low. And I made some last minute little Minecraft notepads. So they're 40 sheets each, and they look like the little Minecraft books. And I did little ones, like a 3x3 of the same design for Stamp Rally for Chibi Chibi Con, but I made these ones 3x4, and they have more sheets on them. And then we have the square reader and portable battery, because of course. And I didn't realize before getting there and setting up, but we were actually all out of these other block prints. And I'm also realizing that I don't have any of the party scene ones in here. I wonder if I'm fully sold out. So we only have the CRT ones, so grabbing some more of them to be able to put out. I believe he is taking the bus there, so that should be about an hour and a half, and doors open at 1. So it's about 10:50 right now, so he'll be leaving pretty soon. He's out taking Blossom for a walk right now. And then today it ends at 7 p.m. So I should expect to see him home at around 8:30-ish. Maybe we'll surprise him and get tacos for dinner instead of eating our leftovers like responsible adults. But yeah, for the rest of today, I am working my full-time job. I'm still in my 2nd week of work. Today is like officially the end of the 2nd week. It's going really well so far. I really am enjoying the job, and I like a lot of the things that they already had set up. We should talk about how much this event actually cost, because that's interesting. So I'm going to go look at my finance spreadsheet because I don't remember how much this event cost. I paid for this event a while ago. I want to say it was in like January, February. It might have been last year. Let's go look at the 2024 spreadsheet. So I paid for this event 12/16 2024, so December 16th. And it was $325 for a 3-day event. So that's about 100 and some odd dollars per day. We also had to pay for insurance, even though they didn't check insurance at the door. It sounds like they checked some people's insurance, so I'm still glad I bought it, I guess. But also, there's an extra $39 that maybe I didn't actually need to buy. That is $325. We're gonna do some quick math on the number we'll need to hit for each day. So total expenses is $394 as an estimate. So $394 divided by 3, because we have 3 days, we'll need to hit about $132 each day in order to pay for everything, which hopefully is doable, but I don't know. Our spot is kind of bad just because we're up on like the 2nd level. I guess we have it better than other tables, other vendors on the 2nd level, since we're right in front of the like main stairs that people would be coming up from. But I also wonder if that's gonna like get crowded and people are just gonna want to walk past. I don't know, we'll see. But hopefully 132 each day isn't too much to ask for. It's Reese. But yeah, hey Reese, are you gonna vlog today?
Hell no. You want to vlog?
That's what I'm doing right now.
Oh, that's what this is for?
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
So you're gonna be in the vlog now.
Wow.
You're vlogging. Look how easy that is.
Wow, that was so easy.
But I will check in tonight with, at the very least, the square number of sales. Maybe we'll get Reese to do a recap tonight with us. Hello friends, it is still day 1. I am still at home working, but there's a lot of, I don't even know if I want to call it drama, because that ends up sounding really like superficial and like it's not important, but I can't think of a better word to use, so we're gonna call it drama. But a lot of things going on in the event Discord and some of the other artist Discords that I'm in, talking about what's going on in the event Discord, which is talking about stuff that's going on at the event that I'm not at. And it doesn't actually affect me or Reese because it is related to parking, but GeekFest West sold VIP parking passes, basically allowing people to park closer to the venue in a parking lot, is what it sounds like. I don't think they were very good at communicating where exactly this lot was to other people, other than maybe the people who bought the passes. And apparently today it was not like closed off, there was no signage, and this parking lot actually had a QR code that you could scan to pay, and it was active. So people parked there and they paid through the QR code. At around 2:30 today in the GeekFest West event Discord, one of the coordinators said, hey, people who are parked there who should not be because they have not bought the VIP pass, you're going to get towed in an hour. They mentioned that, yeah, you'll get towed if you don't move your car in an hour. Didn't even really specify where this lot was still, and there's a lot of confusion still. They specified where you're supposed to move to, but not what lot you're supposed to move from. And so there were a lot of messages being like, well, what lot is the one that's in contention? Did I park there? I don't know. And the organizer said that the sign on the wall wasn't supposed to be active, but it was, and people paid. And their response to people paying was that you'd have to email the parking company to get your money back. And still at this point, they haven't actually said what lot it is. People are kind of making assumptions based on what other people have said and then what they've responded with, but they haven't marked on a map where this parking lot is, which one it is specifically. They just have said, yeah, sorry, the QR code wasn't supposed to be active. It's supposed to just be for VIP passes today. There was supposed to be signage. I guess none of that actually happened. Another thing to note is they're only putting this announcement, from everything else that I'm hearing, is they're only putting this announcement out in this Discord, not via email, not over the loudspeaker or announcement system in the venue. So it's very possible that attendees have parked there, or vendors who aren't a part of the Discord have parked there and don't have access to this information now. And then plot twist, one of the vendors who had went and moved their car and then came back because they didn't want anyone else to get towed because they're a lovely human. And we're basically standing there, I think, warning people if they were trying to come in and park that, hey, you're not supposed to park here. Sorry, you're gonna get towed in like 30 minutes if you park here. They said that one of the parking attendants came and was like, hey, if you have not paid through the QR code and you only have a VIP pass, you're gonna get ticketed. And then it was confirmed later with that parking attendant and their supervisor that, yeah, like going through emails and stuff, that parking lot is general parking for the day. And if you haven't paid with the QR code, you're gonna get ticketed, which is wild. I'd also just like to note that like the Discord is actively being updated with comments and questions and things from the vendors. And the last message from one of the organizers was at 3 p.m. and it is now 3:37 p.m. The organizers have not responded to a bunch of questions being like, hey, what lot is this in? Am I going to get towed? Do I need to move my car? Also, I'm just rereading now, and it looks like, so that vendor, not staff, a vendor who is participating in this market, assumedly has a booth helper watching their booth right now. I hope they're not just like have left their booth and are missing out on sales. Said that a GeekFest staffer came up to them and asked if they had gotten it sorted out, which is wild. Because what do you mean a staff member is coming up to a vendor and asking them if they got a event issue sorted out? That's no, that's not how you, no. What do you mean? But it does look like they actually called off the tow, so no one should be getting towed. But also, none of the GeekFest staff have announced that in the Discord. This is coming from the vendor who is standing out by the parking lot giving people updates. Anyways, that's update as of 3:40 p.m. today. Again, like Reese and I are taking public transportation, so this parking debacle, the absolute mismanagement doesn't actually affect either of us, which I'm really glad for, because if I sent Reese to vend at a event for me and then he has to also deal with all of this, I would feel so bad. I really hope they get this resolved. It's not a good look. Hopefully the rest of the day goes better. Hello, it is the end of day one and I've convinced Reese to do, threatened Reese to do a recap of day one for us.
Yes.
How was it overall?
Slow.
Fair.
I would say it was just mostly pretty slow. Logistically getting there wasn't too bad, and the whole flow of actually being in there wasn't too bad, except for getting to the upstairs part. So like,
Yeah.
It was pretty busy at the beginning for like the base floor, like you could see it from above, but it took a while for people to start trickling up. Once they did, it was like kind of okay for like the first 2 hours maybe, but it only got slower after that.
Fair. That's interesting, because I think I was spying on you, because I could check Square and see what transactions you'd made.
Oh.
Because I think most of the sales were like 5 p.m. and on, maybe like 4 p.m. and on.
Maybe more like 4 p.m. around. I just mean like how many people were up and walking around.
Fair.
Like, and by then, like I think of the people later on were just trying to finish the stamp rally and get the last that I completed one for the person that someone came by Savo's booth and turned in one of the stamp rallies. So I think we've had one redeem thus far. But there were people who were close. There was other people who were like the second one that I've done or the first one that I got. People didn't buy things at first. I mean, just slow as like the environment was slow. Like the first sale wasn't for a while as far as like as the sales went, but I talked to a few people and stuff like that. There were just more people. Yeah.
Did you have fun?
It was boring. And not being an artist myself means I didn't get to, like, the people around me would just do art in the meantime, and I don't know, I probably should have just brought a book or something to read.
I did tell you to bring
I know,
a book.
I should have just brought a book, but I was like, I'll be fine. And I was fine for the most part.
You could play on your phone.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did, but I also was trying to, attract customers in.
Yeah. That's why, like, I could, in theory, bring, like, my iPad or sketchbook to markets, but I don't really like doing it.
Fair.
Like, even on slower ones. For, like, really slow markets, like Northwest Folk Life, I had a book and I was reading. I finished a book.
Yeah.
I finished 2 books. To be fair, one of the books I was already partway through. I finished that book, started another one, finished that one, and then started Redwall, which I still haven't finished. But generally I don't like to, because I find that if I'm focusing on doing a thing, I won't necessarily notice if someone walks up. And I like greeting people when they walk up. I have my NPC lines.
But even my phone, I've been doing it too long. It's hard for me to like try and pay attention to that.
Yeah, that's why I generally don't like to
draw or something.
Draw or like do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Fun cosplayers.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, not like a ton, but some. Yeah. But yeah, it's slow. It was just slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
The music could be better.
I heard. I was also
it on the Discord? Oh yeah.
There's a couple different. There's 2 art Discords that I'm in, and then there's the GeekFest West Discord as well. And it was mostly in the artist Discords that I'm in that were like, "What is this music? It's so loud. It makes me feel like I'm about to fight a boss."
It's weird because like having retail experience, like what customers are listening to can influence like their shopping mood and shopping habits and stuff like that. I would say the vibe was not conducive to being ready to purchase things.
Fair.
It was either
too. It was really cold. Maybe not up
where
you are.
Up where we were was fine, especially later because you get a lot of sun. Actually, the booth next to us was like getting almost too much sun. She was like, "I didn't bring my sunglasses. I should have my sunglasses." Yeah, I bet the base floor down there was pretty cold. I bet. Yeah. And I brought my cardigan because people said it was gonna be cold, so I was fine. Yeah. The upper part was fine, but there's also only that one stair to get up there. So like, I don't even know how many people like knew how to get up there, or like, to my knowledge, when I was doing this early before they had opened up, there wasn't really like signs pointing like where to get up. Yeah. People were very much confused on how to get down. They kept trying to go to the stands, and I was like, if you're trying to leave, you're not going the right way.
I think there's one spot in the stands maybe that goes all the way down, but I think most like end in a wall.
Okay. Yeah. No, where we were, there was no way to get down.
But yeah, I think there's only like from the art Discord, I think they were saying that there's only like one sign that's directing from like the pit or like downstairs where a bunch of the artists are, directing people that there are artists up.
You have to like go through like a bunch of like, there was like a gaming area down there with a bunch of different games. So it felt unnatural too, like as far as the flow goes.
Oh, 100%.
So I imagine trying to get a lot of people through there it wouldn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, even when setting up, I like knew where I was supposed to go to get to like the stairs and the elevator. And I walked into, it's the Seattle Indies space.
So I wondered, I was looking,
like
I was like,
which is very fun and cool.
It was cool.
But yeah, I walked in there when I had my suitcase going to set up, and I like looked around really briefly because it doesn't look like you're supposed to walk through there. I was like, is the elevator over here? And they're like, yeah, it's over there, and pointed to the back wall. So it doesn't look like an area that you're like really supposed to walk through because there's a bunch of stuff going on. And I would also imagine because they're like, it's like essentially booths of indie games. I would imagine that when there are more people there, it's even harder to walk through because there's people in the aisles.
Yeah. However, if you want alcohol, you have to go up there, so not too far away from our booth. Expensive alcohol.
That is true. Yeah, you said what, $9 for a can of cider?
It depended. It ranged. I actually don't know how much the cider costs, but
fair. Wow, you lied to
it was
me.
At least $8 or something. I didn't look.
I
didn't want to actually know because I wanted it and I didn't want to know the price because I didn't want to convince myself to drink because I was getting bored and I was like, I could drink. Maybe I'd have more positive things to say if I had drank. You ever thought about that?
Fair. Resolution, I told them about the parking fiasco earlier.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think
there was an actual resolution at the time. Basically, at like 3:40, this is like 40 minutes after the last response from GeekFest West staff in the Discord. And their last messages were essentially, you're gonna get towed in like 45 minutes. So 40 minutes after that message, they came back and were just like, please hold, we're looking into it. Which is, okay. You should have sent this message like 30 minutes ago, but that aside. And then came back and were like, okay, so no one's getting towed, as the vendor who was out there looking at the parking lot and giving all of the other vendors information before had said. The issue with the lot is getting figured out, so no one should be ticketed. And basically it sounds like it was a miscommunication between the arena staff or like management and the lot management, which I guess if it's the arena staff, it's not necessarily the event coordinators like fault, but the fact that they didn't have signage and the QR code was still working and they threatened to tow people's cars is still the event staff's fault. So they get a little bit of forgiveness for like the issue or miscommunication possibly with the actual lot, but the rest of it is still like, I don't know about that. But also, it didn't affect us, so.
I'm the bus schedules bitch.
You are the bus schedules
Well,
bitch.
actually, all the time went pretty well today, though, so.
Yeah. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be the bus schedules bitch. 9 a.m. is when they open to the VIPs, who I don't even know if there's gonna be anyone there, but I'd rather not have my booth unstaffed when there are
I think I saw
non-vendors.
2 badges that said VIPs.
Fair.
They were together.
Yeah.
They were cosplayers. They were very fancy cosplayers. Even.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, I don't know what they were. I think maybe
Probably
Gotcha.
one of the gotcha games. I feel like all of the really cool,
maybe
pretty...
Honkai Star Rail. That one
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Didn't maybe Genshin. I don't know them.
One of the gotcha games. All of the really cool, really pretty cosplays are always the gotcha games.
It's true.
I also have heard from other vendors who did the event last year that Friday was really, really slow for them last year as well. Which is interesting because like for, I guess really the only convention I have to compare this to is SakuraCon. It's like different scale, but you would think it'd be somewhat similar in like amount of traffic or like, you know? Oh, I didn't tell y'all before, and I don't think I told you. What do you mean y'all?
Y'all.
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 I use y'all written
Okay, just go.
so much.
Okay, alright.
You have a problem with the way I talk?
Go on.
I didn't tell either of you. Any of y'all, not great things from the organization of the event.
Oh no.
Event staff had set up ADA parking, which is great. Love that for them. And then they proceeded to have, in the event staff's defense, I believe it was arena staff members that were saying these things. But arena staff members were telling disabled vendors who came to the door next to the ADA parking that they couldn't go in that way. That they would have to walk down a hill and around the block to get to the entrance.
See?
Because the disabled parking was on the south side, basically opposite the main entrance, but it was on the south side. So there's a big old hill, and I know exactly where it is because I went to that entrance for setup because I was like, oh, maybe I can go in here. And a staff member told me, no, you have to go around to check in. And I did the walk because it wasn't that bad, and I'm not disabled and am physically able to do that walk. Even though I was annoyed, like, why can't I just walk through the building to go to check in? It'd be much faster. And I don't know if it's been resolved now for tomorrow. They didn't, like, the event staff didn't publicly say anything about it. Hopefully it is. That's pretty shit if it's not. But I also do think it wasn't the event staff that were telling the vendors that. I think it was the arena staff that was telling the vendors that. So I don't know if that was another miscommunication or just lack of foresight from the event staff of like, oh, if we're putting the disabled, like the ADA parking here, we need to let them come into the entrance here and not have the only entrance be on the other side of the building. Anyways, that's it for day 1 recap. I will see y'all tomorrow.
She maybe put on pants. I wanna go bed.
Hello, welcome to day 2. We are about 4 hours in, it's almost 1. And we've got about 6 hours to go. So today is a really long day. The first hour, the VIP hour, was really, really slow. I think I sat at my table for maybe like 15-20 minutes, and then I got up and walked the second level loop. Let me know if you have any questions. There were a couple cool artists that I think I want to go back and buy something from. There's also the tea place that is on the first floor. I haven't really walked through the first floor other than really what you saw. So I want to go look through the first floor's vendors. I'll probably do that tomorrow. And then go and grab stuff from the second floor vendors that I saw that I am interested in. I am solo today, so Reese did all of yesterday, and then I'm doing today and tomorrow by myself. Originally, I was going to have Reese come and help me on Sunday for like the afternoon, because I don't think I've mentioned it, but the Dimension 20 like live show is this Sunday, and when I signed up for this event, I didn't realize it was on the same Sunday as the Dimension 20 show. So there should be enough time between packing up and finishing here, because Sunday ends at 5 p.m. and Dimension 20 starts at 8 p.m. So there's a 3-hour buffer, and usually it takes me 30 minutes to maybe an hour if I'm really, really slow to pack up. So what Reese is going to do is he's going to meet me at the Linwood Light Rail Station, which should be the route that I take. And he's going to grab my things from me and take them home. And I'm just going to go to the Climate Pledge Arena. But Reese was like, I don't want to go again. So that was our compromise. He's going to meet me at the light rail station so that he can grab my things. It was a bit busier, maybe like 10:30, 11 to like just before noon. Thinking about it, I think it was really just like 10:30 to 11:30, because it kind of slowed down a lot around noon, and it's been pretty slow since. So I don't know if people are just out grabbing lunch, if there are other like events happening, like here. Like I think there are some tournaments and stuff. So not sure why it's so slow. I think at this point we've made more than what I made yesterday. If I had to guess, we're around 150 right now. I think last I checked, we had like just gotten over 100, but we've handed out quite a few of the stamp rally cards too. These cards are so cute. Like see all of the different prizes, and the map is actually so useful to understand what's going on. So I am up here, and there are stairs right in front of me. The doors that are right there are not open today. Although it sounds like they are funneling people upstairs first. So I don't know how traffic is looking downstairs. Maybe we'll go and peek through the curtain behind me and see in a bit. But yeah, 3 of us are actually up on the concourse level, so the second level, and then only Sabo Tendi is down in the pit. For like where a lot of the exhibitors and vendors and stuff are. But people can go out that way, like through those doors, but they can't come in through those doors. Which, to be fair, I haven't seen many people try to come in through those doors, which kind of surprises me actually, but I've seen a couple. I also forgot to mention that I have been listening to the audiobook for Tamora Pierce's First Test, which is definitely one of my favorite books. It's just like a comfort book for a lot of today. And I want to say I probably have like an hour left in it, and there's a hold on the second book. So I don't have it right now, and that is very sad because I think I'm going to finish
going through the first book already. Because like I was saying, I don't like looking to do things, so like reading or even vlogging, because it means that I can't see when people walk up to my table. But listening to an audiobook is okay for me because I can still look and see when people walk up. It takes a little extra effort to like pause the book, but I feel like it's a good workaround for slow events. Hello friends! So it is 5:15 now. I've just gotten back from once again walking the second floor loop. Still haven't gone downstairs to the first floor, but I spent a bunch of money and got a bunch of items. So I'm gonna show them to you now, and hopefully I will remember who the artist is when I go and edit this. So we can start with the really easy one first. This one is from Cookie Straw. And there's a couple stickers in here that I can't show you because they're going to be presents for my fiance. AKA, I got 3 stickers and I can only show you one of them. Look at this little Sonic. And I got 2 other stickers from them. I got a few of these. I'm not gonna remember who each of these belongs to, but there are head cards. I believe there's a game that you can play with them, which is so fun, but a bunch of different little guys. And I think there are more that I could go find and collect, but I have 4 for the moment. And then I got this little chicken notebook. Ooh, easy reminder, Anxious Raccoon Press. And also from them, I got Garbage Belly, which is a little zine about all of the things that their cat has eaten. I think my favorite in here is the still warm cooking oil from a pan. And then I got this sticker sheet. And I don't know if you can see it very well. I think it's just looking like reflective, but it is holographic. But this is from Fruit Loops. They're little stamp-like things. Hello. Let me know if you have any questions.
Hey, this one?
Yeah. Sorry, let me just... Okay, I actually made a sale, which is great. Love that. But other things that I got from Dino USB. They have a little... It's a gotcha, but it's a little scratch-off ticket, and whichever one you get 3 of, there's like a bunch of different, I guess, like colors or themes. You get the keychain that's associated with it. So I got Sunny. And then I also got a bunch of their stickers because I love their art style. I don't think I have anything from them. So we got little fast food, an apple a day, and we also have Never Seen a Thought, the Thoughtless Frog. Got these 2 stickers as a trade. And then we've got these Trash Friends from Adorable Potato, which is great. Lots of stickers. You can tell that I really like stickers. And then this little holographic, we're not in the sun, so it's really hard to see actual like holographic rainbowness. But I promise this is holographic and sparkly. But this is by Artistic Asterisms. And then we've got this slime, who I don't remember. Oh no, this is by Coven of Woodsea. That's who it's by. This one though, I don't remember who this is by. I got that dog in me. And it's Clifford the Big Red Dog. Same with this one. I don't remember who this artist is either, but a little ace alien. And then this is from my booth neighbor. We got a little hanging sign. It says welcome, roll for initiative. And also a little affirmations card. That's a little paw print. And it says, I am not alone. It's so cute. It made me think of Blossom. I miss her. And finally, one of the attendees walking around came and gave the tiniest little frog. He's just like a little guy, you know? They asked if I wanted a anarchist, anti-capitalist, gay frog, and I was like, of course. So he's just a little guy, but he's also an anarchist, anti-capitalist, and he's gay. So we love that for him. how the event is going. I'm pretty sure I've made back table, but probably by not that much. And it's really fucking slow right now. And it's been really fucking slow for the last, like, honestly, I want to say like 3 hours. That's how it's going right now. I know some other artists are actually just leaving tonight. Like, they're going to pack up and not come back tomorrow. That's how slow it's been. Ooh, I finished my audiobook. I was saying that I had a hold on the second audiobook, which is true. I did have a hold on the second audiobook. But then I looked, and there's actually 2 different listings in the Libby app for the second audiobook. So I just, one of them is the one that I had a hold on, and the other one I could just borrow immediately. So I'm listening to the second audiobook now. And we're probably going to get through that by the end of today, because I said it was 5:15. So we have 2 hours left, and then I have hour and a half bus ride home. So it's 3.5 more hours to get through a book. And then, for real, I have the third audiobook on hold, and do not have that one in my hands yet, which is unfortunate. So we may have to find a different audiobook to listen to for tomorrow. We'll see. But that was my little haul for today. Oh, but I think I was saying, and then I distracted myself. Some of the artists are planning on packing up and living out tonight and not coming back for tomorrow, because it has been such a slow event for a lot of people, which is totally valid, especially if like you have to commute up here, or you're like spending more money to be up here or anything like that. I feel really bad. I think there are some artists that came from like out of state, or like drove and are staying in a hotel here. Actually, a decent amount of people are like staying in hotels here. Adding that on as an expense on top of food is not good. And I feel really bad for those artists, because if a lot of people are already struggling to make back booth, then adding those extra expenses on just sucks. But unless anything really exciting, dramatic, shitty happens for the rest of the day, I'm gonna imagine that it's gonna be like how it is now, and really, really slow. And honestly, if I make like one more sale tonight, I'll be happy, because I don't feel like I'm going to at this point. So I will probably see y'all tomorrow, and I'm gonna listen to the rest of my book now. Talk to you later.
Next stop, Mount Lake Terrace.
Hello friends, we are back for, it feels like it should be day 2 because this is the second day I've been here, but we're at day 3, it's Sunday. And it's about 1:30 right now. I got here at 9:15 VIP hour. It's supposed to start at 9, but yesterday there was like no one walking around, so 30 minutes in I went and walked around. So I came in at 9:15, I set my bag down and I went and walked around the main floor until like 10. And then sat at my booth for about an hour, so until like 11-ish. I didn't actually finish going all the way around the first floor during the VIP hour. So I went back down to finish going around the rest of the floor. I didn't make it around the rest of the floor, but I did. I have so many items. Oh my goodness. Like, I need you all to understand. This one has stickers in the back of it. There's a bunch of stickers in here, and like multiple prints. This lovely modular print. Also, that's not it. I also have these guys, and the sticker, and this keychain. These stickers, and this sticker. I think that's it. Anyways, I have a lot of items. Because when I went back down at 11, I made myself a little sign that said, I'll be back at 11:30. I was not. I was back at 12:30. I spent an hour and a half down there. Although to be fair, like at least half an hour of that was spent chatting with one vendor. They were lovely. They're actually from South Carolina, and they flew out for this event, which I was like, are you okay? How sad are you right now? But they actually did not pay for their flight or for their table because they are also promoting a movie, which I do have a business card for. Hold on, let me, called The Late Game. So they had a screening for it on Friday. Basically had their like, I don't know if it's the production company or their director for the movie. They're in the movie. The artist is in the movie. I'm also waiting for a friend to get here. They're supposed to come to the doors here so I can hand them the extra badge. So, but yeah, they are not paying for their flights or their table. So we chatted for a good long while about conventions and art, stuff like that. It was very fun. I'll go through all of my items better later on. We'll see how traffic is looking at 4. So I might start packing up at 4:30 if traffic is like dead. I'm gonna pack up. I'm gonna get on the bus towards the Linwood Light Rail Station, and then Reese is supposed to meet me at the Linwood Light Rail Station so that I can pass him all of my items. And I'll probably just bring my wallet and my phone and maybe my headphones with me to the Climate Pledge Arena for the Dimension 20 live show. I am very excited for that. Some of my other friends also saw Lou and Zach just around Seattle. These friends just kind of have insane luck of like seeing artists or performers before the shows happen. Like it's happened multiple times for, I think, like bands that they've gone to see before too. So just very silly, and it's a good photo, and they said that they had a lovely conversation. But that is keeping me going right now, as well as my immense amount of items. We've actually had a good number of sales in the, hour that I've actually been sitting at my table. We are all sold out of Soot Sprite mouse pads, like fully sold out. Like I have none at home, which reminds me I need to go mark them off on the website so no one tries to purchase them on the website, because that would be bad because I don't have any. Oh, I see my friend. I will be back. Okay, friend has been given a badge, but he's not allowed to enter through these doors, which is so silly. So he's going to the main entrance and then is gonna try and find his way here. So we'll see how that goes. Ooh, also I got more ribbons. I got this little Kirby and this little Pikachu that's Sakura, and I got those when I was walking around earlier. But it has still been very slow. I think maybe I've made $75 today so far is my estimate. I haven't looked at any of my Square reports or anything, so I'm not actually sure, but that's my estimate. Maybe 100.
Welcome back. So just to kind of give an ending to day 3, since I kind of stopped filming once my friend showed up. It was really slow for the rest of the day. We did essentially co-op crosswords, aka he had crosswords on his phone and we both looked at the hints and tried to figure out what they were. We successfully completed the Monday one and then struggled with the Sunday one. Anyways, I have my iPad with me because I have written out I believe at least a 14-page document with some screenshots that I'm gonna read y'all about what has happened to kind of give you information about the rest of the event. But yeah, wrapping up day 3 was very slow, as it was the rest of the event. We ended up leaving at about 5 because we started packing up a little bit early at 4:30. And like I mentioned before, I went to Dimension 20 Live last night.
opening and saying, I got your bow right here.
He crossed your nuts. We're fighting these guys, right?
Yeah! Roll initiative!
Go ahead, give me your athletics check.
Have to go all out just this once more.
15 and a half. 15
It's a lot.
It's a lot. What do I got?
You have plus 4.
No, that's impossible. No, I think it's plus 4. God damn it! With a 19, Carradine is going to be rolling. Carradine adds a plus 9. So he only needs a 10 or higher. 15. Box of Doom.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
11 plus 9 is a 20.
It was a ton of fun. I was very tired by the end. There was one really great nat 20 roll that Lou had, and if you're into Dimension 20, you should look it up on TikTok. It's very funny. And then this morning I woke up and I was scrolling through the GeekFest West Discord, as one does after an awful event, and saw that a lot of other vendors were posting their feedback in vendor channel in Discord, and a lot of them were kind of hitting on similar points. I think I at least skimmed through most of them, and the reason why I decided to leave mine was because I had some feedback that I wasn't seeing other people post a lot. And most of that was related to how staff was communicating and conducting themselves throughout the event. So I'm gonna actually read you what I wrote. So I started it off by saying, just hopping in here to give my 2 cents. For context, I was on the concourse level, 2nd floor, right in front of the stairs for Seattle Indies. Expenses, table was $325, transportation was $30, and insurance was $39. Just a note on my expenses, I kept them very, very low because again, I took public transport and I had found a coupon for buying insurance. My total income for the event was $672. Therefore, the overall event profit was $278. I'd like to note for event profit, I'm not including items/stock costs. So the reality is this number is even lower. And then I proceeded to go into the feedback that I was giving them. So feedback on event logistics. ADA access was atrocious. Not only was the door near the ADA parking not staffed, when it was, they told folks to walk around to a different entrance. Absolutely not acceptable. Additionally, the lips in the 1st floor caused tripping hazards and the aisles were not wide enough. The layout was also atrocious. I'm not even going to speak about the upper versus lower because that's been spoken about, but space planning seemed non-existent. You had the big staircase in one of the elevators through the Seattle Indie Games space. It did not look like a throughway, and I'm sure it was often not because there were people doing activities in the space. And again, the aisles on the 1st floor were so tiny in some areas and occasionally looked crooked as they shrunk and widened seemingly at random. Signage was also atrocious. There was no official signage directing folks to vendors upstairs or vice versa to vendors downstairs. There were some signs indicating Geektopia pointing downstairs, but an average attendee isn't going to know what that means. Any signs pointing up or down on the open stadium stairways were printed off 8.5 by 11 that were hastily made. Not even a logo or anything to make it look nice or official. If you're going to have reserved parking, make sure it's reserved and that it looks reserved. Don't threaten your vendors and your attendees, especially when you don't communicate that threat to folks. Again, not every vendor is in the Discord, and this notice never went out via email. Attendees had no way of knowing about this threat either. I then had to split this into a second message because I typed too many words. So the second message is focused on feedback on staff conduct. And by conduct, I really meant like how they were conducting themselves and communication with vendors. Feedback on staff conduct. I do appreciate the transparency in what staff did to accommodate concerns as they came about this weekend, but at some point that extreme transparency just comes off as unprofessional. You can say you were a volunteer as much as you'd like, but the fact is you were staff and you were in charge. Saying you were just a volunteer and you did as much as you could shifts blame rather than taking accountability. Vendors should not need to worry about the internal politics of your organization because we are not staff members of your organization. Communication should be sent via email. Again, the towing/parking issue was never sent via email. You should not need to lean on your vendors who are paying you to be there for help. You either need to hire more folks or get more volunteers. It is okay to ask for help, but it shouldn't be necessary. Weird notes of, well, if you knew the whole thing and I can't talk about it here is super unprofessional. And frankly, weird as fuck. Don't do this. Again, vendors shouldn't need to worry about the politics of your organization. That's your job. Edit to add. I never interacted face-to-face with any staff. No one came by my booth / introduced themselves at any point this weekend other than other vendors and exhibitors. I then went on to list my suggestions on what to change. Vet your vendors. Split / section off exhibitors and artists. Lower the number of vendors. Communicate with the vendors more effectively. Space plan more effectively, walkways mainly, and signage. And better ADA policies. While finances and lack of attendees are obviously a big reason that many folks are upset, I'm personally more upset about how unprofessionally this event was run. I thought that was that. It had been pretty quiet that morning. I think a lot of vendors had left their feedback last night, but I got a response to my feedback from Tyler, who was one of the event organizers, specifically the street coordinator. I don't remember if I mentioned this before, but the event had both an inside portion where I was, that had the first floor, second floor, and also a third floor that had some events happening up there. But they also had an entire street outside section, which had food trucks. I think it had a wrestling ring. I'm not sure what else because I never actually went out there because I was soloing all of the days that I was there. But just for some context on when I say street coordinator, Tyler, I believe, was in charge of organizing the outside portion, whereas Josh, who is the exhibitor coordinator, was in charge of organizing the indoor portion, is my understanding. So I'm just gonna read Tyler's response outright. I'm going to try my hardest to not put inflections where there shouldn't be, so that you can judge the words for yourself. So we didn't threaten anyone, parking enforcement did. We warned everyone that they were towing and ticketing people. We got that handled as fast as we could. This was an arena miscommunication with the parking company they hired. The arena made the decision to only give us 4 ramps after never telling us a floor was not included in our arena rental. And the floor was not affordable to have installed after finding out a month beforehand it wasn't included. They charged us an additional fee to put the ice rink floor in because that also wasn't included in the ice rink rental. They then wanted to charge us for each additional ramp we wanted. Fire and OSHA were called by some vendors. They came out and deemed the facility to be ADA compliant, I believe he meant compliant, minus a few areas where vendors slightly blocked walkways with booths. There are 3 elevators on site. The back doors, if we allowed them to be used, would need a metal detector and additional staffing all weekend and cost about as much as a 3-year-old used car to open that entrance. Communication, I can admit, should be better from the organization. I do admit that this year was bad for vendors, myself being one. I lost a shit ton of money on the Smash tournament, and I learned what not to do for whatever I plan to do at the other shows or GeekFest next year. Computer for guest to Steam. I believe he meant stream. Negative 1,800. Staffing, negative 2,000. Consoles and equipment, negative 2,500. Then there's negative 6,000 in paid hours for Next Level Games employees to make things happen for this event and tear it down. Profit, negative 12,000. So I think what I take from this response to my given feedback, and I think it's a very human response. It seems to me like he is taking everything that I am giving as feedback for the team very personally, as if it is something that he specifically has failed and I am telling him that he is bad at his job, which was not my intention, but obviously it struck something within him, so that sucks. But it resulted in him coming off, at least to me, as very defensive and shifting a lot of the blame off of himself as well as the other organizers. And that's something I had literally just given feedback on, that isn't good. It's not good to shift the blame, especially when you are the people that are in charge. So trying to shift the blame by saying, oh, well, we're just volunteers, we're doing this for free. Oh, we also lost a ton of money, we're also vendors. Oh, it's because the arena did this or that. That isn't helpful. I kind of say that in my response to him, which I'll read to you now. Hey friend, so this message is a great example of what I mean when I say not taking accountability and being unprofessional.
You've shifted a lot of the blame off of you and the other staff and onto other folks when it's supposed to be y'all's job to handle it. It reads as not actually listening to what folks are saying. There's a difference between intent and impact. And as one of the event organizers, the impact matters a whole lot more than the intent. The message about towing read as a threat to a lot of people. You didn't communicate with your vendors during this time for 40 minutes while folks were panicking. Communication and charges with the venue is your job. As a vendor, I don't care what the venue said. I care if you got it handled. Regardless of if it's compliant, you had so many vendors telling you how it was negatively impacting them. I realize reading it now, it's not exactly clear, but this was related specifically to the ADA concerns because he mentioned that, well, Fire and OSHA came and said that it was compliant, so it's all good. Going back to reading, I completely forgot to mention noise and temp that I saw many folks talk about. And writing that off because it was compliant is ... not a great look. I'll be honest, as a vendor at the event you're in charge of running, I don't care if you also lost money. That is not my problem. And then in italics at the bottom, I also wrote, I'll add that as a person, I can empathize and understand that running an event of this size with a small team is tough, and it sucks ass to lose money on an event. But as someone who is looking to you as a staff member, your personal problems and income are not my issue. The quality of the event is. I also just want to add in a message that he sent right after his response and before I had put my reply to his response in. And there were some other vendors who were chiming in as well about different things during this time. So it's not like these were the only messages in the chat. But he also wrote, I'm not perfect and I'll be your punching bag all day. I'm built for it. I will fight whatever battle you can to make sure things get fixed. Some things have an NDA and can't be discussed. Was the dream a bit too big for a second year? Yes, I'll admit it. But we all last night were already trying to plan for next year with a ton of vendors on how we should fix it for next year. I sat and cried on the phone with the owner of the nonprofit for 2 hours till 1:30 a.m. expressing my frustrations, and I don't cry like ever. You can ask my mom. And that response just reads to me as weird, I'll be honest. It's going into the thing again of like over transparency or like over explaining, and just reads as really unprofessional. Kind of similar to like telling me exactly profit loss that you yourself made when you're one of the staff members. So it's like your boss, or like if you were working as like a commission artist and you had a client and the client told you, well, actually I lost so much money on this thing that I did, and also I cried to this other person that is also kind of above you because they're my boss, and you can ask my mom because I never cry. It's just weird. It's so unprofessional. So then going back into the correct timeline, I have just sent my response, right? Where I'm basically telling him, I'm sorry, I don't care if you lost profit. Intent doesn't matter as much as impact does, and you have vendors telling you that there were issues. You should listen. And his one-line response was, yeah, because I was busy trying to not get their cars towed. Just focusing on my sentence in the middle of my message that said you didn't communicate with your vendors during this time for 40 minutes while folks were panicking in regards to the towing incident. And so that is when I kind of stopped responding because a bunch of other vendors kind of hopped in and started messaging, and there was a lot of things going back and forth. And overall, this entire conversation went on for about an hour and a half in the Discord. And I'll just highlight one specific section because I'm gonna go into the other portions a little bit later when I kind of walk through all of the different things that I had given feedback on. One vendor who was lovely, I actually bought some of their artwork, was trying to give feedback and trying to give it nicely, and even explicitly said like, hey, I'm not trying to attack you or like target you specifically. I'm trying to let you know how you can improve for next year. What you doing, Cooper? Yeah. It was regarding one of those moments where
the organizers were kind of being a little bit weird about like, oh, well, we can't talk about that. And this vendor was saying, hey, if you can't be transparent about it, don't say anything about it. Tyler was basically saying, well, all of the inside vendors were involving themselves what was happening outside. In the back and forth, Tyler had a comment that said, you involved yourself. And it proceeded to start getting thumbs down reacts because that's kind of rude. The vendor that was basically having this conversation with Tyler went, hey, don't delete your post, don't delete your comment. You're dodging accountability again. Like, you deleted it instead of maybe apologizing to me or owning up to what you said. And Tyler proceeded to say, I didn't delete anything. And then was called out by a different vendor. Was like, don't do that. Don't do that, Tyler. We got screenshots. They didn't actually say that, but there are multiple screenshots of this specific message, including with like the counting thumbs down emotes. And Tyler was then like, yeah, I deleted my own comment. It was then kind of moved past and nothing really happened, but that was just like a weird little like, not a great look. So at the end of this hour and a half, Tyler had sent a message about, hey, I need to step away, which honestly, great for him. He should have done it like after he sent his first reply and I sent my reply. That's when he should have been like, oh, no, I gotta step away. But at this point, he was like, yeah, I gotta step away. You can send feedback to Nathan Mum, who is the main like head organizer, who really hasn't been present for any of these discussions, his email, or you can wait for the survey to come out to give feedback to. After this message has come through, Josh, who was the vendor coordinator, who I believe mainly focused on the inside vendors, sent a message that said, Tyler, just stop. And then sent another message that said, as others have stated, our internal politics are our own business. We fucked up, we have to own this. I actually do believe that there is another message that Tyler sent right after this, but I didn't actually grab a screenshot of it because the Discord channel that all of this discussion was in was fully deleted. And I don't know who deleted the channel. I have thoughts on who did it, but we don't actually have any sort of confirmation about who actually deleted it. So right after it was deleted, Josh, the, again, vendor hall coordinator, sent a message in the general channel that said, I don't know what is going on, I am out. Basically implying that he probably won't be back for next year for GeekFest. And that's where I'll kind of end with the like drama of kind of what occurred today, because today is Monday, so it's the day right after the con. But a couple of other things did happen after. We got an announcement from Nathan that he wasn't the one that deleted the channel. So now we're gonna talk a little bit more about some of the specific issues that were across the weekend. I do want to give you a little bit more context and kind of like a disclaimer though. So like I mentioned before, I was on an 8-foot artist table. I paid $325 back in December of 2024 for this table. I really only went around the vendor areas in the Seattle indie space indoors. I did not explore the outdoor area at all. I did not explore the third floor or the like event spaces at all. So like where they had all of the card tables set up or like the tournament space or the LAN space. I really didn't explore any of that at all. So we're gonna start off with the first concern, which is accessibility. Like I said earlier, even if it is technically compliant with whatever laws and regulations there are that are out there, that should not be good enough, especially when you have many vendors and exhibitors complaining about accessibility issues, but also when you have attendees complaining about accessibility issues. There were reviews on Google that popped up for GeekFest West 2025 that specifically mentioned accessibility issues. So like Tyler mentioned in his response to me, they didn't staff that other door, which is the door that is close to the disability parking spots that they had set up, for money reasons, because it would have cost a lot for them to staff that door. Obviously, I don't know all of the behind the scenes planning, space planning, all of that jazz. In my head, if you're going to have disability parking and it's going to be near a door, you should either move the main entrance to that door and have that be the main entrance and have the other entrance be closed, or you should move the disability parking to be closer to the main entrance. Having your solution be the disability parking is on the opposite side of the building down a large hill from the main entrance is not the right solution at all. And this isn't just like a theoretical thing of like, oh, well, if people parked in disability, they'd be told. No, people who parked in disability spots were actively told that they could not enter through that entrance that was closest to the disability parking, and that they would have to walk all the way around. That's unacceptable. That is not okay. Just to further show that accessibility was not prioritized is the fact that, okay, ramps cost extra for the show, and they weren't prioritized. And so you had tripping hazards everywhere on the first floor because there was a lip painted yellow. So in theory, you should be able to see it, but I believe it ran like the entire way around the first floor arena. Yeah, if you didn't notice and you were walking in the aisle, especially in a vendor area, like when I'm walking through a vendor area, I'm not looking at where I'm going, I'm looking at the things on either side of me because I want to see what art there is and what stuff there is. In addition to this, the music on the first floor that the event was playing was really, really loud. Also on the second floor, there was a specific booth that was also really, really loud, and that negatively impacted vendors who were around this other booth. And this issue was brought up in the Discord a couple times. The fact that this booth specifically was being really loud and it was really overstimulating, and it was a problem. I'm actually not sure, so I won't say. I don't know if staff went over and talked to that booth and said, hey, you need to turn the music or whatever down. But it sounds like even if they did, it didn't make an impact, and that booth continued to have rising volume levels if they did turn it down, which really sucks, and actually ended up in some of the vendors leaving on the second day because they could not deal with the music for another day. And so now we'll move on from accessibility issues to the space planning issues that I was kind of talking about earlier. So like I was saying, the aisles on the first floor were really, really narrow in some areas. Even the like widest aisles, which were on either side of the arena, kind of providing a throughway through the vendor area. It really did feel like they just shoved as many tables in there as they felt like they could. I won't get into too much like the second floor versus first floor issues, but essentially for folks who weren't there, this event took place in a hockey arena. So the first floor is like where you would expect the rink to be. Then there are the stands, the chairs up and down the sides. And then the second level is actually the concourse, or where you would leave your stadium seat or arena seat to go use the bathroom, go buy food. So it's a big ring and you can just walk in a circle. So they put a lot of the artists and exhibitors down in the first floor, the pit as some of the artists were calling it. And then some other artists, including myself, were placed around the concourse level. Usually there was a group of like 2 to 4 artists, kind of with tables right next to each other. And then you would walk for a little bit and then there would be another little group of artists. And this was all throughout the concourse level. I think in theory, this isn't an awful idea, but it becomes really bad when you don't correctly direct the flow of traffic. The flow of traffic was not correctly directed. The stairways up and down. So there was, I think 2 or 3 stairways through the stadium seating that went up and down, but those obviously pose a accessibility issue. Not only are they stairs, so if you are in a wheelchair or you can't go upstairs or downstairs, but also stadium stairways are not fun to walk up and down. They're really narrow, and the steps themselves, I don't know, they're just weird to walk up, you know? So already from that, not great. There was like a normal, not stadium seating, stairway to walk up. And it was a big stairway. It was really nice to walk up. The issue, which you might have seen when I was showing that initial video of me leaving my space on setup day, is that to get to that stairway from the first floor, you have to walk through the Seattle Indie Games section. And when you're walking into the Seattle Indie Games section, there is no signage directing you towards the staircase. There's no signage telling you that there are more vendors upstairs. It's hard to tell that there's even a staircase there because it's tucked into the back and there's a bunch of stuff going on. And when I was going to set up on the first day, I walked into the Seattle Indies base and kind of looked around, and I had looked at the map, so I knew that the staircase and elevator was supposed to be over here. And I asked someone who was there, hey, is the elevator over here? And they're like, yeah, it's over in the back corner. Because they're in the back corner behind all of the Seattle Indie stuff, and you can't see it, and it doesn't look like it's supposed to be an area that you walk through. I'm sure when there are people, because again, it's set up similar to like the vendor hall where you have tables on either sides and the walkways aren't that large. When there are people standing at a booth playing a game or seeing a demo or talking with the developer, it's gonna be hard to walk through that area. You're not going to be able to get through. Like if there's two people back to back talking to different vendors, you're not going to be able to get through very easily. And like I had briefly mentioned, there was very little signage pointing people to either from the first floor to the second floor or from the second floor to the first floor. There was one sandwich board sign that was like right in front of my booth that was pointing people down those stairs towards Geektopia, but an average attendee isn't going to necessarily know what Geektopia is. I'm a vendor and I don't know what Geektopia is. I can make assumptions because I'm a vendor, and it's probably what they're calling their vendor hall. Why not just use the words that people who attend conventions are going to know, like artist alley or exhibitor hall or vendor hall? For those who are new, I am a user experience designer as like my full-time job, so my whole job is making sure that I make stuff that like your user is gonna understand. So things like this is just like, you're not gonna have people who understand what you're saying. You can try and be like quirky and cool as much as you want and be like different, but it doesn't matter if you're cool and different if people don't get what you're saying and it doesn't work like it's supposed to. Aside from this one sandwich board that I saw directing people downstairs to Geektopia, there were also 8.5 by 11 printed off sheets of paper that would sometimes just say like more vendors or food. So there was one of those signs by the main staircase on the first floor, but it was when you were at the staircase. So after you had walked through the Seattle Indies area, you would see that sign that said more vendors and food upstairs. I will give the staff credit where credit is due. I feel like they did hear vendors' issues with this on the first day. The first day they were directing traffic into the first floor, and second floor vendors were saying, hey, we're not getting any traffic up here. It seemed like they listened because the next day they started by directing traffic upstairs to the second floor when folks came in from the main entrance. That meant that the second floor got a little bit more traffic in the beginning of the day, but then some attendees struggled to find the stairs to get down to the first floor. And at least for me, I got kind of a boost in attendees or customers or people browsing at like 10:30 to 11:30 in the morning, which isn't normal. That's like, from events that I've done, I would much more expect a boost in traffic from like 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., like afternoon, when people have kind of woken up and want to go browse. So that bump in traffic was absolutely because they were funneling attendees up through the second floor. But then after that initial bump in the morning, it got really, really slow again in the afternoon. Sorry if the camera moved at all. I paused and went and got myself more tea because I could feel my throat getting scratchy from talking so much. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, the next point of feedback, is the parking fiasco or the towing fiasco, whichever one you want to call it. Tyler, in his response to my feedback, mentioned that It wasn't a threat, and it wasn't the event staff that were calling the tow truck. It was the parking lot that was actually calling the truck. And I just wanted to read y'all the initial, I guess we'll call it a notice if we want to be as unbiased as possible instead of a threat. We'll read the initial notice about the tow truck coming. So this is from Tyler. If you're parked in a lot across the street without a VIP pass, the tow company will be here in 45 min to start towing cars. Please move them to the east side of the arena for overflow vending parking on Oaks. In Tyler's defense, I think at least part of this is a miscommunication. Someone asked, can you specify what street it's on? And I believe that vendor meant what street is the parking lot you're talking about on, and Tyler took it as what street are you talking about us moving to? And so Tyler sent a map that indicated what street that vendors should move to. But vendors also kept asking, hey, what parking lot are you talking about? Is it this one? Is it that one? And one vendor even sent a request of, hey, it'd be really helpful if you just screenshotted a map and squiggled in red where we're not supposed to be. With regards to communication for this, because that was a point that was made, the announcement was made via Discord about the tow truck coming. There was no email that was sent out. This was apparently because Tyler did not have access to the email or the mailing list to be able to email all of the vendors. There apparently was an announcement over the intercom made about the parking, but that in and of itself has issues because vendors on the second floor were unable to understand what any of the announcements said. And again, I don't know specifics about what was going on behind the scenes. We have Tyler's account of what was happening, where he was running around trying to talk to a bunch of different people, including arena folks and parking lot folks. But in my brain, you should be able to also call on your other staff members and ask for help, especially if it's something that is going to affect vendors and attendees. That seems like something that's really important that more than one person should just handle. I also think I mentioned this on day one, but another vendor actually ended up going out to the parking lot and was warning people who were pulling in to park that they shouldn't be parking there because they might get towed, and was providing the Discord a lot of updates. It ended up being a big miscommunication between the arena and the parking lot owner, or whoever manages the parking lot, that did end up getting resolved. I don't believe anybody got ticketed or towed that day. At least no one has mentioned it in the Discord. But it caused a lot of stress for a lot of people. That wasn't really ever acknowledged. Like the amount of stress and panic that it caused for a lot of vendors. There was an email sent out that night. I'll find it and put it here for y'all so you can read it, but I forgot to screenshot it and add it to my document, so I can't actually read it out to you. And I don't know how other vendors felt about it, but it really just didn't address the biggest issue with that whole situation. So another thing related to the parking fiasco is that in Tyler's response to me, he mentioned that he was running around, running 3 city blocks and trying to do everything he could to make sure that people's cars were not going to get towed. But that vendor, who I had mentioned earlier, was providing folks with updates on what was actually happening at the parking lot before a staff member came back and took over. Mentioned that there was a staff member who came up to them and said, hey, have you figured it all out? And that was actually Tyler, apparently. And not only did he come up and ask them, have you gotten it all figured out? Is it all good now? Do I have to do anything? But also he walked up with a drink and food in his hands, which would imply that he went and got food rather than was actually running around trying to figure everything out. And obviously I can't confirm this. This is information from one side. This next point is a little bit more just for the drama, I'll be honest. But it also is related to the feedback point of being too transparent around things. I don't remember the precursor to this conversation, I'll be honest. I don't know if it matters that much, but basically there was some conversation about how the outdoor vendors Specifically, the ones that were east of the wrestling ring really weren't getting a lot of foot traffic, and I think there were some suggestions about how that might be able to be improved, like opening it up to the public to try and get more foot traffic into the outdoor section for those vendors. And the response from staff, specifically Tyler, I'll read this response to you. Volunteer staff has been informed of the attendance and made an adjustment earlier today is all I can say to this. And so then vendors were kind of like, that's kind of weird. Like, what do you mean by adjustment? What does that actually mean? Tyler's response then was, for insurance and legal reasons, I cannot. But all outside vendors noticed a difference in attendance. I've been working with them all weekend to do everything I can. We as a team have made adjustments as the show is going and will be meeting with the arena and city with information. There will be a survey and I encourage everyone to fill it out after the event. And another vendor a little while later was like, hey, this just makes me feel weird. Like, what do you mean for insurance and legal reasons you can't explain after you already said something? Tyler said, give me your booth number and I'm happy to come talk to you about it. There was some back and forth on like, well, why can't you like email me or just say it here? And someone mentioned, well, maybe he doesn't want a paper trail, and he said yes. And eventually they compromised with an email. I have no knowledge of if that email ended up getting sent, if this vendor actually got an explanation from Tyler about what was going on. But what ended up coming out in the messages earlier today, after my feedback and Tyler's response, was Tyler saying, I opened the street fair up to the public. That's what I couldn't say for legal reasons. I took down postage signage and didn't have volunteer staff at every entrance. I opened so the vendors would have better sales, which all of it violated city and insurance agreements. Which is definitely a choice to say in a not public, but like semi-public forum. And the insurance situation specifically is mostly, drama. Related to it and in conversations surrounding it, there was also a lot of shifting blame and a lot of calling themselves volunteers. Josh was saying very similar things as well. It wasn't just Tyler doing this. I realize this now kind of like, for whatever reason, the screenshots that I've chosen make it seem like it was only Tyler doing this. No, Josh was doing this as well, being like, well, I'm just a volunteer, so like I can only do so much, which again is just shifting blame and not taking accountability, because whether they're doing it for free and volunteering their time, they're still staff of the organization. Being a staff member doesn't necessarily mean you're being paid, at least in my definition. I don't know if there's like a legal definition of a staff member or something, but you are still representing the organization and you are in charge of the event. Whether you're doing it for free or not does not matter. So in regards to the vetting that I mentioned would be important to come back later, one of the vendors that was outside was apparently Shen Yun, which is a cult, like a Chinese cult. I'm gonna be very honest. I do not know very much about Shen Yun. I know that they're a cult. I have no idea what their politics are. Apparently they're in a couple lawsuits or something. I have no idea. I didn't look it up before doing this. Generally, they're not a very good group. People don't tend to like them. Additionally, they shouldn't be at a GeekFest event. They shouldn't be at like a convention. What? It is essentially the same as having like a Scientology table or Mormon or Church of the Latter-day Saints table at a like nerd event. That it doesn't make any sense. No. The response from organizers for that was, yeah, to be honest, I didn't know who they were and they applied last minute and I gave them a table. Vetting people for next year would be very important. One thing I will say that I kind of liked but also kind of disliked, I'm on the fence about, on how they communicated, was when they would send out an email on one of the days of the shows, they would also print off a piece of paper with the same email text and put it on each of the vendors' tables, which I think was actually really useful, especially if you weren't getting the emails for whatever reason, or if you just like didn't have time to check the emails in the morning or whatnot. I will say they sent out too many emails during the event for my taste. Like they sent out an email, I think every night with various information, and they would print out the email and put it on the vendor's table, which I did find useful, but also I feel like it wastes a lot of paper, especially with the amount of emails that they were sending. But that is something that I think that they did well, is making sure that those communications did get to each vendor. So now we get to one of the biggest issues, the attendance of the event. So there are a couple things regarding attendance other than it was just poor and there weren't that many people attending. First off, I just want to note that each vendor or exhibitor got 4 badges, which is a lot. I think most conventions will give an artist 2 badges, so one for themselves and then one for an additional booth helper. And then you can opt to purchase additional badges at an extra cost. Generally is the thing. GeekFest West gave artists 4 badges each, which is a ton. And a lot of the artists and vendors that I have talked to have been wondering if that is to inflate their attendance numbers. Again, I don't know. I don't know how they're calculating their attendance numbers. I don't know if they are counting specifically sales, if they're including the vendor badges in sales. I don't know any of that. But that is something that is good to consider. And so again, I can't say any of this for certain because I don't have the data. I don't know what the numbers are. But what I will say is that vendors were told that there were about 8,000 attendees last year, and there were projected to be 10,000 attendees this year. I will say, it did not feel like 10,000 attendees. Maybe there were a bunch of people in the land space that I never saw, who knows? The number that a lot of vendors were told was that there were 8,000 attendees last year, which is interesting because when I went and looked at organizers' social media, because I was trying to confirm things for court cases that we're going to talk about in a little bit, all of the numbers that were being posted said 6,000. I mean, to be fair, it said 6,000 plus, but they all said 6,000. So if it was 8,000, you would think that they would say 8,000 plus, but all of those numbers said 6,000 plus. And that's a difference of about 2,000 people. I don't know what the difference there was, if afterwards they opted to include vendor badges in that amount or something. I don't know. It was a very interesting difference that I noticed. So let's talk money, numbers, everyone's favorite thing. If you're new, I am generally pretty open about the amount that I make at events, as well as my expenses. So for table cost, my table cost $325. Like I mentioned before, I paid for this table back in December of 2024. So I believe some people paid more for the same type of table. I got an 8-foot table, just like one of the artist tables or whatnot. And I believe the cost of that type of table increased. Like my table neighbor paid more, like in the 400s for their table. And then looking at other expenses, I paid $39 for insurance for the weekend because I found a coupon code. Fun fact, if you're buying ACT insurance for events, generally you can find coupon codes for at least $10 off. But generally there is some sort of coupon code for ACT insurance floating around. So you should check and don't pay the $49. And then I paid about $30 for transportation because I took public transit. And then I didn't actually end up spending anything on food or drinks because I brought lunch with me every day and I brought coffee from home. My total income, so this is not including product costs, so like my manufacturing costs or material costs. This is just the total that I received, not including tax, was $672. Which means that my total profit for the event, again, not including manufacturing costs and things like that, is $278, which for a 3-day event with 24 hours of open, vending time, not good. Really not good. I thought it'd be really fun to compare it to how I have done at some of my other events. So I had another really, really slow event this year, Northwest Folklife Festival, which is not the same demographic or same vibe as this event whatsoever. So, take it all with a grain of salt. I just thought it'd be fun to compare essentially my 2 slowest events to each other. So I did 2 different sets of numbers. So for The first one, it was the hourly total. And so this isn't subtracting any expenses. It's just looking at the amount of money I made for the event divided by the number of hours that I was vending. So for GeekFest West, it was $28 an hour. And for Northwest Folklife Festival, it was $30.50 an hour. But then looking at hourly profit, so we're taking that total and subtracting any expenses, and then dividing by the number of hours we were vending. GeekFest West was $11.50, which is not great. And Northwest Folklife Festival was $9.60. So essentially what we can learn from this is overall per hour, I made more at Northwest Folklife Festival than I did at GeekFest West. But my expenses for Northwest Folklife Festival were greater. The booth cost was more, and also I had to rent a car for a day so that I could bring all my stuff home. Versus GeekFest West, the booth cost was less than what it was for Northwest Folklife Festival, and I was able to keep the rest of my expenses pretty low because I didn't have to rent a car and I could just take public transit. Now to compare GeekFest West to a more similar event, we're gonna look at ChibiChibiCon, which I did for the first time this year. So ChibiChibiCon is an anime convention down in Olympia, Washington. So it's a very similar kind of like crowd, like the nerdy, geeky crowd, if you would want to say that. A little bit different because, you know, anime versus, it felt like GeekFest West was trying to go for like gaming, but then I don't really know. I don't know if they know what they were going for. And also, I chose ChibiChibiCon because although it is a more established event, it is also similar to GeekFest West, not in Seattle. So GeekFest West is in Everett, and then Chibi is in Olympia. Just a reminder of what my hourly total was for GeekFest West was $28. My hourly total for ChibiChibiCon was $90.88. And then looking at profit, my hourly profit for GeekFest West, again, was $11.50. My hourly profit for ChibiChibiCon was $68.95. And honestly, I was a little surprised by this because I did rent a car for ChibiChibiCon because I had to drive all the way down to Olympia and there was no way I was doing that via public transit. But ChibiChibiCon's booth was a ton cheaper. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Chibi's booth cost is around $75 versus GeekFest West's $325.
Hi friends. So originally I had a whole recorded bit with video and everything talking about some of the organizers, mainly Tyler and Nathan, and looking back on it now, I'm just not super happy with how it turned out. And in addition to that, some new things have come up in the 24 hours since that was recorded. So you get black screen with me talking at you and some screenshots probably. So we'll start off with what has happened today. First, in the Discord, Nathan put out a statement about where GeekFest West was kind of going, and I'm not going to read through it all. You can pause and read some of the parts if you're interested. In the community and volunteer growth section, I just want to point out that there's this weird line that says we are now starting to see who is truly committed to making this event work. I have no knowledge of what was going on in Nathan's head. I can't know for certain. But I'm wondering if this is like a little jab at Josh, who it seems like is not going to be involved in GeekFest West 2026. And then on communication and respect, there was a lot of things about personal attacks on volunteers or staff, which I was just making a note that Nathan was also calling them volunteers. And also, Nathan had said earlier that he was not the one who took down the Discord channel, and then repeats it once again and says, yesterday one of our volunteers took down the Discord server. He means channel.
While I personally may not have made that same decision, I want to be clear I support that person. They use Discord as their primary communication tool, and they felt attacked. I understand their frustration and think this person needs some praise for all of the hard work he did this year. I think there are some interesting choices in this statement specifically, especially the I support that person, because the way it is said in this sentence or in like this paragraph, it implies that he supports their decision to take down the Discord channel. It's a choice for sure to say that you support that. And then there's a lot of just notes around there shouldn't be any personal venting in this Discord server. And I just think that this line in particular is really funny. If you want to vent, I'm sure there are some I Hate GeekFest Discord channels you could join to do that. And the final point of the statement is what comes next. This first sentence just, it rubs me the wrong way. We will have a year 3 and a year 4 and a year 5. It just feels unnecessary and kind of like a ha, see, well, I told you so kind of moment. Same with the statement later that says, we want you with us, if not, that's okay too. We'll keep building either way. Like, you don't really need to say the we'll keep building either way part. So after this statement was put in the general channel in the GeekFest West Discord, there was a lot of conversation again, most of it not very positive, and a lot of just, yeah, this statement did not hit the mark. And after about an hour of mostly negative conversation in there, the entire Discord server was deleted, or at least everyone lost access to it. And that is most of what happened today. And I am still going to chat with y'all about some of the information that I found out about some of the organizers, but I just want to preface it with a statement of don't go and harass or dox any of these people that I'm talking about. Literally no one wants that. Myself, none of the other artists or vendors want that. So we'll start with talking about Nathan Mumm. So Nathan Mumm is the head of GeekFest West. And GeekFest West, to my understanding, is operated underneath a nonprofit called the Courtyard Media Foundation. And so because it's a nonprofit, we're actually able to see a lot of information about it. So I started by just Googling Courtyard Media Foundation, and a couple things came up. So we can actually see their previous financial filings, specifically the Form 990-N, and those are mostly, at least from what I found on the IRS website, are e-postcards, so they don't show us too much about it. It shows us the organization name, it shows us the principal officer's name and address, which I have blocked the address of because I don't know if it is a business address or a home address, as well as the website URL and gross receipts not greater than. But we don't really have a ton of information here. And also the last filing that is available on the IRS website is from 2023, and so GeekFest West started in 2024, so it's not going to be reflected on 2023. I also found that they had a profile on guidestar.org, which is a website that tells you a lot of information about nonprofits and kind of what they're all about, and it's supposed to give like a rating or like some information about if you can trust the nonprofit or not. So what's really interesting on here that this is the place I first saw it, was there's information about our programs and what those programs are. Here we have a little blurb that talks about running services including games, educational programs, Easter egg hunts, Boys and Girls Clinic, game day events, and Boomer Math Explosion programs. And that Courtyard Media Foundation is supporting programs for children and families who are ethnic or racial minorities, disabled, or lower income children. And then also talks about basketball, which I guess kind of makes sense with like courtyard, maybe? I don't know. But the other thing that GuideStar has that we can look at is they actually have the 2008 and 2010 Form 990s. And these are Form 990-EZ. And I'll be honest, I don't know what the difference is between the -N and the -EZ. I don't know if it's just a previous form, like version of the form, or if it's different and now it's being filed for different reasons. I have no idea. But some of the interesting things for the forms is that in 2008, they received a lot of contribution gifts, grants, and similar amounts to the tune of $122,241. And they also got $31,055 from program service revenue, including government fees and contracts. So their total revenue for 2008 was $153,296, and their total expenses was $145,283. This is including professional fees, occupancy, rent, utilities, and maintenance, printing, publications, postage, and shipping, and other expenses that I believe is probably attached, but I didn't actually go and look at it. So the net assets or fund balances at end of year is $8,013. But this is also where we can see kind of what the organization's purpose is. And so the purpose is written as to promote social welfare through sports and children. SE, that is cut off. And also, I've seen a little bit of conflicting information around when Courtyard Media Foundation actually got the ruling of being a nonprofit, but one of the data sets that I pulled has the date listed as October 20th, 2004. And I am inclined to believe that rather than other websites that are pulling things from other places. And I also went and checked a data set to see if the Courtyard Media Foundation is still active as a nonprofit, and it is still active as a nonprofit currently. Some other information pulled from that original data set that was looking at what year it started, and that data set was pulled from the IRS. So it is classified as an organization that receives a substantial part of its support from a governmental unit or the general public. It is under recreation and sports camps, which I found really weird. And I don't know like anything about how nonprofits really function internally. So I don't know if maybe that's what they started out as and now they've kind of pivoted to something more similar to GeekFest West. And when you're a nonprofit, maybe you just don't have to update that. I have no idea, but they are still under recreation and sports camps as of 7/22/25. So, but going back to the 2010 Form 990, I think it's a lot of the same. The income that they gain or the revenue is a lot less than from other years, and the total expenses is also a lot less. So it feels like a similar ratio of revenue to expense, but it is $30,767 revenue and $24,638 expense, rather than the like in the hundred thousands that it was in 2008. And we get a little bit more legible of statement of program service accomplishments. So the organization's primary exempt purpose is to provide social services, basketball youth programs for children. And what was achieved in carrying out the organization's exempt purposes was we reached over 3,500 children this year with our basketball training camps, Easter egg hunt support, and Christmas events. Each event was to reach out to underprivileged children or families struggling with current economic issues. We reached over 2,000 children this year with our basketball training camps, Easter egg hunt support, and Christmas events. Each event was to reach out to underprivileged children or families struggling with current economic issues facing the nations. Operation of basketball programs, Explosion Basketball, as an outlet to encourage playing physically active sports and to help teach preparation and competition.
that kind of answers like why it's listed as a recreation in school camp, because basketball training camp. And also something interesting to note, and I have no idea if this is still the same today, but listed in 2010, Nathan Mum and Tracy Mum, who was listed as the secretary, both have listed compensation of 0. So they are not paying themselves as of 2010, which obviously is 15 years ago. So it's not super relevant anymore, but I did just think that that was interesting information. In the 2008 document, it only has Nathan Mum listed, but he was also still having compensation of 0. And then looking at court things, so I actually originally started looking at court documents and court cases because of some information about Tyler, but I figured I would look into it for Nathan Mum as well. And there are a few cases with Nathan Joseph Mum listed as the defendant, and 3 of them are in Snohomish County and 3 of them are in King County. And these are indeed 6 separate court cases. Not all of them are current. I think the most recent one was January 22nd, 2024. And the rest are 2020, 2019, 2017, 2016, and 1995. And 1995 is the only one that actually had court documents listed, and they didn't actually have images associated with them, so I am unable to download or pay for those records to actually see what those records say. But it does give a description of everything, and the last description is order of dismissal stipulated W/P. I'm wondering if they settled out of court, especially since there is a statement of arbitrability, which just reminds me of like arbitration. With any of these court cases, we have no idea if they were dismissed, if he was found guilty, if he was found innocent. But we do know that these are all related to him because he actually has a Wikipedia page. And on there he has his full name, including his middle name, listed. So I feel pretty safe to assume that Nathan Joseph Mum is the same as Nathan Joseph Mum of Courtyard Media Foundation. But again, just because he has 6 cases that have been brought against him, we have no idea what any of them are related to. I am really interested to see the 2024 Form 990, what that says, if that gives any insights into like the financials of GeekFest West, because I think that is a big question on a lot of vendors' minds. And then we will talk about Tyler Wallier. I want to say, give another preface, that this is all alleged, and I wasn't actually able to find any proof of these claims other than a Reddit post and another vendor mentioning that they personally were impacted by it, but I was not able to verify that information outside of those 2 claims. So this is the public Reddit thread that has the claim in it, and the claim is basically that he used to own a mechanics shop or car shop and scammed a lot of people in the car scene out of parts and out of money, and that several lawsuits from customers and former employees were brought against him. So the first thing I did was check and make sure that we were talking about the same person, or tried to. So I checked what the owner of Next Level Video Games in Everett, what his official name was, and it is Tyler Wallier. I also checked Tyler Wallier on Facebook, found that his Facebook name also includes a middle initial of B, and that was useful for checking the court cases. So there were a few court cases that were levied against a Tyler B. Wallier, some as a respondent, some as a defendant. And then there were also some
court cases against Tyler Blake Wollier, and I have no way of confirming if Tyler Blake Wollier is the same as Tyler B. Wollier or if they are two entirely different people. But of all of these court cases, some of these, I will also note, have the same case number, so it is not actually the entire individual listings that you see. Some are duplicates, and I'm not really sure why. Also would like to note that on the cases that say judgment available, we're not actually able to click into that right now because the website is having issues, which is unfortunate. But one of the cases had court documents associated, and it was the case from December 2012, which is quite a while ago. And it is also against Tyler Blake Wollier, so again, I don't know if this is the same person or if this is a different person entirely. But I did pay 50 cents each for these two documents, so I'm going to share them with you anyways. So it's for an overpayment warrant from the Department of Labor and Industries. It sounds like an assessment of disability overpayment. It seems to have been resolved because there is a judgment available and we are unable to see it. We also see that there was a satisfaction of warrant document, which I assume means that something happened and the warrant was executed. But again, I'm gonna reiterate this as many times because, I don't know if this is the same person. But back to the claims of scamming customers and employees out of car parts and money. I can't actually prove that any of these court cases, one, are the same Tyler, or what any of these cases were about, or what the judgments were in any of these cases. So I have no idea if the Tyler that was an organizer for GeekFest West was sued for any of these alleged reasons. What I can say is it does seem like Tyler did either own or operate a car shop or a mechanic shop for some amount of time. But I think all of this is to say that after the entire deletion of the Discord, I am not confident that there will be a feedback survey sent out. I mean, I was already kind of questioning if one was going to be sent out yesterday after that whole debacle, but after the entire Discord has been fully deleted, or at least all of the vendors have been removed, I don't know if they're actually interested in hearing feedback, despite what Nathan's statement said. Also, despite what Nathan's statement said, I'm not confident they're gonna have a year 4 or a year 5. I think they'll probably try and go ahead with a year 3, but I don't know who is going to want to vend with them after they have shown that this is the kind of professional conduct that you can expect from their organization. Before today, aka yesterday, I had a little outro that was like, maybe I will consider vending with them again after 1 year, see if it gets better. But after their conduct today, I don't think I would consider vending with them again unless it was an entirely new organizer and staff team, because at this point I think they've just lost any of the last remaining trust or respect that they had from vendors, and I'm not confident that they'll be able to regain that or have a successful event. But I will pass it back over to my yesterday self to actually wrap up this video.
I hope this was somewhat interesting, and if you were also a vendor at GeekFest West, hi! Welcome to venting about the issues of the event. It was great to trauma bond with you via Discord.
I'll end this off by saying, like, I'm coming from a place of privilege because I have a full-time job. I do this as like a side thing and as a hobby. It's not my main source of income, so I don't need to fill my calendar with events. But I also would understand if you are a vendor who does this full-time and this is your source of income and you need to fill your calendar with events, why you would consider coming back next year. If the income of the event wasn't too terrible for you and you did make a profit, even if the organization and the organizers were really poor and unprofessional, you still made a profit, and you, unfortunately, in this world, you need money to live. So I'm definitely rambling at this point, so I'm gonna wrap up the video. Thank you for watching this really, really long video. I appreciate y'all for staying for the whole thing. I'd also like to thank my Ko-fi subscribers for subscribing monthly. If you are interested in subscribing to my Ko-fi, you can do so at the link down below. I post a behind the scenes sketchbook every month, as well as downloadable mobile and desktop backgrounds for you to use on your devices. But if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I put out videos every Monday about my artwork and running a small art business, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.